not one question in the entire press conference had anything to do with the central issue of the whole government shutdown, which is Obamacare.
Yep.
Kind of stunning that in a whole long press conference, not one question on the whole focus of this current fight.
Not one person. It's absolutely amazing. Now,
the central question here we're talking about is really money, because everyone thinks that all these financial guys who've looked at Obamacare says it looks like, whether you like it or not, it doesn't tend to be affordable. And that's being added on top of a national debt that's about to hit $17 trillion, $17 trillion, and a budget deficit this year of $800 billion. I mean, that's more than my son racked up on his credit card in college. It's amazing.
Frank Vernuccio joined us today. He's a national expert on policy and government affairs. We have him on each and every week talking about the news of the day and everything else. Now, what do you make of Obama holding this press conference? Why did he do that?
Well, it was sort of a preemptive strike, because something else happened around the world that's going to start having some reverberations. There was a big, big conference going on in Asia about economic matters and the security matters as well, sort of under the table being discussed there. And the United States, President Obama chose not to go to this thing. He said that he didn't want to leave Washington while the government was shut down. But in his absence, the Chinese are there making big deals with all the other Asian countries, deals that are going to really hurt the American economy because we're not going to get the benefit of them. It's a real tactical error, and I think the president's going to come in for some rough sledding from economic folks when they take a look at the damage that's done by the president's poor decision not to go.
Now, China has warned the USA on default with the debt ceiling talks pretty much about to take place and sort of already taking place. What do you make of China?
God, don't you just love it when the last major communist power on earth is telling you that you're being financially irresponsible? That just makes your head spin, doesn't it? What the Chinese are really worried about, of course, is that we're not going to pay them all that money that the government borrowed from them. It's about $1.2 trillion. 23% of everything America owes to the rest of the world is owed to China. And their economy is starting to look increasingly frail. Now, look, they're still booming. They're still having a growth rate that puts ours to shame. But there's starting to be a lot of kinks in it. A lot of their growth and economic strength depends on selling stuff to the United States. If the American economy starts to tank, they have no one to sell stuff to, and that means their economy is going to go into the tank pretty quickly.
Frank Vernuccio joins us today here on the program. And one last thing that I want to wrap up with you here, my friend. By the way, check out USA.gov policy on the Internet. It is a tremendous website. We're going to talk a little bit about that after this next little news item. This was flashed across the all the news sites earlier today. America wants drones that can kill without humans. Oh, my God, this is just not a good idea. Why is this happening?
Well, I hear Schwarzenegger needed a new job, so I guess this is kind of the start of all that Terminator stuff. Look, one of the big problems is our mindset that all we really need to do is to arrest or to kill some individual bad guy out there, and that all the world's problems will be solved. The fact of the matter is, look, we've killed bin Laden, we've gotten a lot of the top Taliban leaders, and Al-Qaeda has come back stronger than ever. The fact is, we are rejecting the reality that it's not just one criminal that's out there doing all the harm. I saw this was a James Bond movie with the Dr. No causing all the problems. These are real significant forces arrayed against the people of the West who believe in freedom, and we're fighting them. And until this administration realizes that it's a real war, not some kind of criminal action or James Bond movie, we're not going to have any real progress. And these drones without humans really are just a manifestation of that.
We've got Frank Vernuccio joining us today, USA.gov policy. What are some different top of the headlines and things that are going on over there?
Well, more and more, we're just looking at the budget stuff, and it is a real crisis. In the past 11 months alone, Washington collected $2,472,542,000,000. That's more money than the federal government has ever collected for that time period in its history, even adjusted for inflation. And yet we're still running a deficit. The United States doesn't have a revenue problem. It's got a spending addiction that's got to stop. We simply can't afford to be doing what we're doing.
I'll tell you, Frank, you guys do it right over there at the USA.gov policy website, and each and every day with your commentaries here on the program. What is going to happen this next week that people need to be aware of?
Well, a couple of things. Are we going to see the continuation of the government shutdown? Number one. Number two, what are the reverberations of the president's screw-up over in Asia? I mean, the long-term prospects for the American economy, if we're not really on the cutting edge of the economies in Asia, is going to be pretty dire. So we're going to see, how we have to pay for that. And those, I think, are going to be the two really big stories. The third one coming up, sort of in third place, but coming up fast, is the increased military power of China and Russia. And if we keep defunding the military, whether it's because of the economic disagreements in Washington or the fact that the American economy is just too weak to afford it, sooner or later that's going to have real ramifications, and we're going to start feeling that, I think, in 2014 very solidly.
Well, it's always a good time to chat with you each and every week, sir. Thanks for being on with us, and we'll talk to you next week, Frank.
Looking forward to it, James. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Have yourself a wonderful day, sir. Frank Vernuccio with us today. When we get back,